So, traditional Jewish, Christian, or Muslim.
Hey, Preston.
Hi, Katie.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you too.
It's our third year of doing the
Holy Watermelon Podcast.
It's what, episode 79?
Sure, something like that.
So 79. So not quite mathematically correct. 26 times 3 is not 79. 78 would have been our.
So we skipped, instead of doing fortnightly, we took an extra week off for our first Christmas.
That's true.
But we've been consistent since then.
Yeah. Anyway, ignore the numbers. This was roughly the date we released 3 years ago.
Approximately. Yes, we started in October of 2020.
Yeah, a good pandemic hobby.
Right. There was an awful lot of new podcasts that year. Most of them have stopped.
Yeah, so that's a win.
Right?
Sound like a noisemaker.
Wee.
So today we're going to do a slightly different episode where I was going to say we're not going to educate you. We'll educate you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But not a typical topic. We're going to do a 3-year review. We have some listener questions. I have some questions for Preston. We're going to get into the minutia of the fuck, murder, marry rules later on. Maybe that'll be Patreon only.
So we've talked about a lot of different things over the last 3 years.
Like a ton.
We've talked about the nature of religion and deity and how both of those things are difficult to define and vary from person to person, from one school of thought to the next. Even scholars will still argue about these things, probably for centuries to come.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like any good scholar will tell you that it all depends in this field of study, at least.
Yeah. We talked about the phenomenon of counter-religion, especially Satanism, how it mostly exists just as a, haha, screw you, Christians.
Yeah. And
mostly, but not only.
Yeah. And we talked about satirical is not the right word. Parody religions.
Yeah.
Which are also often counter-religious or have counter-religious foundations.
Yeah. We talked about the use of entheogens, those intoxicants that amplify religious experiences.
Drugs.
We got mushrooms, we got weed, we got MDMA.
Peyote.
Yeah.
Peyote is a sacrament.
Yeah.
As is marijuana.
Yeah.
Depending on what religion you're in.
Yeah. We've talked about the phenomenon of prophecy and authoritative speculation and how scripture plays into that and how it gets reverenced. And also, just most recently, we've talked a lot about the nature of scripture.
Yeah. I feel like I've learned a lot. Have you learned a lot?
Yeah, I'd say I have.
I mean, as someone whose degree this is in, but as someone who has also finished university, it definitely doesn't teach you everything.
No.
We've talked about morality, how good and evil, where does it come from? A lot of people think it comes from religion. It doesn't.
Morality helps define good and evil in religion, but there's certainly not a dependent relationship. We got an awful lot of people who say they're religious who are just awful.
Oh.
Just awful.
I was about to say the majority, but that's sassy little atheist Katie, which we've talked about as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it could warrant more episodes, but talking about non-belief for an hour is...
We pulled it off once.
We pulled it off once. I don't know if we could do it again. So nobody believes in anything, and peace be with you.
We talked about the nature of belief and knowledge and about doubt and atheism.
Burden of proof came up. It's come up a few times. It's a good concept to keep in your back pocket.
We've talked about holidays and their significance within and across religions and religious groups. Mm-hmm. Some great holidays that get repeated from one group to the next.
Every year we kind of squeeze in around Diwali. We did a Diwali episode. I mean, all that's around Christmas. We're in North America, so that's the predominant ones. But we did a whole season of December holidays and obviously Spooktober, which this is taking up an episode of Spooktober this year. Sorry, friends. We've never done an Eid episode. We should plot out when Eid is next year.
We've also talked about the phenomenon of exalted saintly figures. How some of them are just awful and unworthy.
I was going to say they probably shouldn't be exalted.
Yeah. Some who get credit for great miracles through their relics. Old people bones. Yay.
I will say we discovered our favorite saint because of the Holy Watermelon podcast. Looking at you, St. Bernard of Clairvaux.
Absolutely. Good old St. Bernard and his mommy milkshake.
Mary's milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
And of course, the saint with way too many heads. Good old St. John the Hydra.
Yeah. We talked about trickster gods and chaos monsters. And one of our very first episodes was on the misleading labels of Eastern and Western religion.
Yeah.
We talked very early about how we divide religions that way.
For those of you who might not remember.
Go listen.
Yeah. Everything that we call Western religion came from the East. And everything that legit came from the West, fully ignored in this discussion.
Yes.
It's embarrassing. Oh, well.
Everything from the West would have been in our last episode with Cheryl.
Right.
Listen to that one.
We also did a survey of the more popular traditions in each of those categories. And we also talked about schisms within those traditions.
We spent all of the beginning of 2022 talking about extinct religions.
Yeah, those are some really cool things.
So your Roman pantheon, Greek pantheon. Oh, I want to say Viking pantheon. That's
the Norse.
Right. Norse, thank you.
The Celts, the Egyptians.
Yeah, we covered all those pantheons and how Christianity just wiped them out.
Yeah, that's pretty much the deal there. Yay, imperialism.
Yay, JC. It wasn't his fault.
No, it really wasn't. We look at the value of exploring religious diversity and study in public schools.
Yeah.
Still feeling like we can advocate for that.
I was going to say, I feel like that might be an episode we need to retouch on in the next year.
Sure.
We also talked about abuses a few times. We talked about religious trauma. And then, of course, we talked about the Catholic sex abuse scandal. Again, an area that we could probably dive more into if we're...
Oh, there's so much.
Well, and it just came out that a lot of the same abuses are in the Southern Baptist Convention as well. So haven't talked about yet, but...
You gotta love those people who seek after power so they can do what they want. Yay. We also talked about the intersection of popular culture and religious tradition. Little Bob's Burgers stuff came up. A lot of TV shows.
Yeah. Lucifer came up for that one.
Yeah. And Dante's Inferno all the way back.
Yeah, that was a fun. Also something we can probably.
There's a lot more depth here.
I noticed that there's something not on your list, even though we're coming to the end of it.
Oh yeah, what have we talked about that I haven't put on my list yet?
It's not even what we talked about. We've met some really cool people.
Yeah, we absolutely have.
Sarah, Vernon, Dr. Glenn, Dr. Wes, Cheryl, Jack, Actual Jesus Jack. We've met some really cool people and heard some really cool stories as well. We have obviously a couple more months in 2023. We have more people on our radar.
We talked about the intersection between religion and politics.
We talked a lot about that for a while. I mean, we talked about communism, we talked about fascism, but we even talked about the Troubles in Ireland, which is partially political.
Yeah. Well, it's entirely a product of colonialism and not wanting to follow the king and his demands of your religion. Just rude. We also talked about the apparently, but not actually, religious conflict in Palestine and Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And the misrepresentation of religious communism and how that's actually really popular in a lot of danger cults. And we also talked a little bit about paradoxes within religious traditions with anti-medicine nonsense, prosperity gospel, and broadly xenophobia. And we explore all these ideas with a pretty varied toolkit coming from different perspectives. I, Preston, am a believer of the Christian faith. Katie, not so much.
Not so much. I'm a devout atheist. That's an oxymoron.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
We check our use of language and reinforce our value of pluralism. And I think we come together to make a pretty great discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we're good. I think we're a good example of people who can disagree.
Yeah.
Not just in like everyday beliefs, but there have been episodes where I know there's an episode there where I've literally said, I disagree with you. And we just move on.
Yeah.
We have pizza afterwards.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So we have received a handful of listener questions that we've decided now is a great time to address.
Yeah, I love these. Some of these are a bit out there. So the first two are from our good friend, Alex.
Okay.
Alex asks, if you could go undercover in any religious group's leadership structure, which would it be? I have like a two-part answer for this.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I feel like there's a really obvious answer to this, which is not my answer.
Okay.
But I'm hesitant to say it without knowing what you're going to say.
Go for it.
So I feel like the really obvious answer people want to hear is like Scientology.
Sure.
Because it's like a secretive, high-profile cult.
Right.
But that's not my answer because there's been so many leaders like Mike Rinder who have come out and basically said what happens behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
My actual answer is Catholicism because it is like the opposite. I won't say nobody thinks that Catholicism is a cult, but they're so secretive and nobody seems to like care that it's super secretive. And that's why I would like to hide behind his chair for a little bit. I assume that's how that would work.
Yeah, I like that idea. So the first thing that come to mind would be, sneaking my way through the Vatican like that.
Yeah.
And for all the same reasons. And I don't know if there's really anything else that calls to me as like, hey, I want to see what's going on behind those curtains.
I don't know if there's anything quite so secretive. Maybe the Southern Baptist Convention when you get really high up, but like your average like Protestant pastor,
it's the big high profile known unknown. There's lots of unknown unknowns. Yeah. Like secrets that I don't even know they hold secrets.
Maybe in the Watchtower might be kind of interesting.
Yeah. So that's another one that I have thought about a fair bit before because I've been told that according to J-Dub philosophy and theology, the second coming of Christ has happened and he's just chilling out in the Watchtower.
Oh, cool.
Which means there's people in the Watchtower that know that that's not true.
Or have you ever thought about this, Preston? Maybe you're wrong. And he is in the Watchtower.
Then that would be great to find out, right?
Yeah, and same thing, I don't see Judaism or Islam being particularly secretive.
Well, and they don't have the same sort of organizational structure.
Right. Yeah, too. There isn't the Pope.
Right. You have like some pretty high profile imams and rabbis, but they don't have that same kind of authority. Mm-hmm. They have authority the same way that your famous philosophers and your high profile theologians have, where people like reading their books maybe, and that's about it. Yeah.
And I'm going to use the term the Eastern religions all feel much the same, right? There isn't one center of power that is so powerful.
Right.
Like literally the Pope is the president of his own country.
Yeah.
That's not the right term. Holy see. But he runs his own country.
Yeah.
They have their own postal service. Like no other religion has that. Like it's mind blowing.
So it's not that weird to me because it seems like a pretty reasonable thing. The university I work at has their own postal service that it's 3 or 4 guys, or maybe less, I don't know for sure, who deliver all of the mail that gets sent to our main postal hub.
Okay, yeah, so you have a mail room. Okay.
And a guy who delivers it to my office.
Okay.
And I don't see the Vatican being a whole lot different than that. It's just a really big campus.
But it does function as its own country.
Yes, it is fully independent from Italy, has been for decades.
Right. So while I see your comparison, the university you work at is not its own country.
Do you know where the Vatican City gets its name?
No.
Because it wasn't really its own city until it was separated from the city it's in.
Huh.
So the name the Vatican City just comes from Vatican Hill that it's on.
Oh. That's all. Vatican doesn't mean anything.
It's just the name, and the origin of the name is occasionally questioned.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not like theologically important or anything like that.
And then there was that documentary, I think it's still on Netflix, where that the girl was murdered from the Vatican because there are a handful of civilians that live in the Vatican. Did you not watch that?
No, this is news to me.
I don't remember what it's called.
There's a decent chance my wife has watched this, but I am unaware.
It's called Vatican Girl, The Disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi.
Okay.
And yeah, her dad was a civilian working in the Vatican, which is also like, I didn't realize. I literally thought it was all priests that worked there, but I guess they need cleaning people, lawn care. And so they lived in Vatican City. They were Vatican City residents. They were not residents of Italy.
Did they have citizenship in either?
They had citizenship in Vatican City.
Okay.
And anyway, the story is, she went to school one day and never came home. But yeah, that's just like, that would be a place I'd like to pull back the curtain on fully. And like everything from how it's run infrastructurally to what does the Pope do behind closed doors. John Paul flogged himself.
I mean, that's a lot better than just watching videos from Cub car rallies and not letting anyone else in the room for that.
Is that what Francis does?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's the first thing that came to my mind of a thing that's easy to get your hands on that is definitely problematic in certain contexts.
Okay. This question's super interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you answer it first.
Okay.
Also from Alex. If you could choose one religion to convert to, which one would it be?
So I feel like we've talked about the potentiality behind this for you a couple of times. But for me, it's really hard to predict where I would be comfortable if I believe different things than I do, you know?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's easier for you to make the leap from one religion to another than me from non-belief to belief.
Right. And I've seen these questions in advance and I've thought about them a little bit because...
Even fuck, murder, marry?
Yeah. That one's received a lot less of my contemplation. So the follow-up question that Alex had to this is, and why is it Catholicism? And
which I left out because he was just being sassy. But
right. And I mean, I don't think it would be.
No, me neither. That's why I left out.
Let's adjust this question a little bit. How much of what I currently believe that puts me where I am are we omitting from this hypothetical version of myself?
I don't understand your question.
If I still believe in Jesus, then that would probably throw me in some other Protestant church.
I would allow you to be in another Protestant church.
Then,
I would like you to be more creative, but like, if that's your real answer, then that's your real answer.
We've talked about a lot of things that I don't find objectionable. If I didn't have a belief in Christ, then maybe Buddhism would be where I end up. I don't know. But
you could be a Buddhist and a Mormon.
You can be a Mormon who believes a lot of Buddhist ideas. But
Buddhists
it's
won't
not
care that you're Mormon.
There are a few incompatibilities theologically speaking, but as far as what it looks like in your daily practice, Buddhism does augment your daily practice. Maybe that would be where I would end up. I don't know.
I've always said, if you held a gun to my head and said pick a church, I'd probably pick Mormonism. Probably because I have a soft spot for Mormons.
Sure.
And I think, like, from what I've seen, which is the Mormon church where we live, and I know it's different elsewhere, is that, like, they're very supportive of their members. Like, I think they know how to really take care of the people in their congregations or in their wards. That being said, I know there's a lot of pressure on women to behave a certain way, which I don't. And again, I know that changes the closer you get to Utah, which I don't know if I would be.
There's a reason I live where I do.
Yeah. I think if I like had to go a whole hog into something, it would be like paganism, probably. Okay.
So paganism, I think we've talked about this, is the broad category of not Christian.
The one from the 50s. What am I? Wicca.
Okay.
That's what I, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the guy, the naked guy. What's his name?
I don't remember right now.
We do not know what we're talking about that. Like if I have my own little spell book and like
Gardner?
Gardner, yeah.
Yeah.
And dance naked under the moon.
Sure.
Like that's actually
That's
like,
a good time.
Yeah, like if I could make tinctures and like grow herbs in my I already grow herbs in my garden, let's be real. Yeah, I think that's the one I could probably like. I don't know if I wouldn't still believe in a deity, but like as a hobby, I would probably quite enjoy Wicca.
Sure. So another question we got is, will you do an episode on Canadian cults?
This is from your wife. I want to do the Brother 12 cult.
Okay.
The Brother 12 cult was located on Vancouver Island, and I know I met the realtor that sold the compound. How cool is that?
That's fairly cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You could sell the Waco compound as a realtor. They're still out there though, so.
We have posted a little bit about some Canadian stuff on our social media. We talked a little bit about John de Ruyter.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the staring cult.
Yeah.
He was recently arrested.
Yeah. What an interesting fella. Not a fella I'd want to be friends with, but he's interesting.
Yeah, we talked about John de Ruyter. I was just going to dox us. He was local to us.
Yeah.
Don't Google him. We're actually going to go check one out, but he got arrested, so we won't.
Who knows?
I think it's still going, but I don't know how you stare at people from jail.
Easy.
You have to get permission from the jail.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll figure that one out.
I don't know any others off the top of my head, but I know they exist.
Yeah.
Our Patreon subscriber, Lisa, asked if we had any cold remedies. By the time she hears this, I hope her cold is better. But what are your cold remedies?
What do I do when I get a cold?
Yeah.
Bundle myself up real good, drink lots of water. What's that stuff I drink called? It's orange.
Neocitrin?
You drink it real hot. That's the stuff, Neocitrin.
I like Neocitrin, yep.
Sometimes it's the off-brand stuff, but it's all just as good.
Yeah, nice. My last cold was in February.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our listeners will know I had a really big event that week. And I couldn't be sick for it. I was emceeing a gala for 200 people. Not something you want a cold for.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like super sick, but I literally canceled all my work for 3 days so that I wouldn't get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I did that was, I think, super effective. I was better by the gala. Was I have a face steamer, which you use for your pores and skincare.
Right.
But to like get the hot air into your lungs was really effective. I'm also a Neocitrin at night person.
Yeah, that stuff makes you sleepy.
Yeah. And I know it's hard, but they always say feed a cold star of a fever. So I just like try to snack constantly.
I mean, that's why I'm the shape I am.
So you only do that when you have a cold, Preston?
No.
Oh. Okay. Also, last time I had in February, I watched Jesus Christ Superstar. So.
And that's what made the difference.
The Tim Minchin one, yeah. And the guy from X Factor. Yeah, Tim Minchin.
The guy from X Factor.
I don't know who he is. Tim Minchin and Mel C were the shining stars of that. So,
sure.
That production. So yeah, I watched that, and I watched a whole bunch of like 15-year-old Disney movies that I didn't realize were 15 years old because I hadn't seen Frozen yet, and it was like 2002, and I was like, Frozen is not this old. It's not actually 2002, but it is way older than like last year, which is what I thought it was. So yeah, eat lots, Neocitrin at night, steam your face, plenty of fluids, snuggle with a dog. Hope that helps.
I like it.
Ooh, asterisk, we are not doctors. Do not say that. Preston's in the hot seat.
Oh, no.
What are your top 3 favorite episodes we've done?
I really enjoyed Don't Stop Believing, where we talk about epistemology, the nature of belief and knowledge, and how that's actually a lot more complex than most people think about. So that's definitely my top 3. As much as I like talking about things that I'm most familiar with, I also really enjoyed the learning and the research that goes behind these episodes. And maybe, High and Mighty was a lot of fun talking about drugs.
I also had a drink before that episode. So
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was a good time. And, I like Josh and the Wise Guys.
Yeah.
Where I got
The
to
nativity.
cut through the another look at the nativity story. I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
Those might be my 3 favorites.
High and Mighty, Josh and the Wise Guys,
And Don't Stop Believing.
Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah. Don't Stop Believing came to mind a lot quicker than the rest, so that might be my number 1.
All right.
We'll definitely have to explore that topic a little bit more in the future.
I think so. I think there's quite a few episodes now that we've learned more would be worth revisiting.
Yeah.
What is something you've learned that has surprised you, or something that you learned that was unexpected?
The first thing that comes to my mind right now is the idea that persisted for long enough in Christianity that rabbits must all be hermaphrodites. Enough that they got connected to Mary and the Easter holiday.
Wow. The only thing that's truly Christian about Easter.
It was weird to find that it was a very specifically Christian idea that brought rabbits attached to Easter, as opposed to the whole mass fertility thing. It was the hermaphroditism connected to Mary, who is not, according to any religious canon, a hermaphrodite, but was able to produce as a virgin, like a hermaphrodite might expect to be, I guess.
I don't think that happens either, but
no.
It was some mental gymnastics, but they did it.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to connect, and I enjoyed learning that was the deal that made it all come together.
There you go, and I hope you bring that to church every Easter now.
It's so weird to me that so much thought went into that, and nobody went and fact checked the whole all rabbits are hermaphrodites idea.
I mean, when you produce that fast.
How do you know you're looking at the same rabbit? You look at one rabbit and don't put it down halfway through. That's how you know.
Too funny. How has the podcast affected your faith?
I don't think it's had any effect on my faith, on the belief in God that I have, and all of the specific things that come with that. It might have informed my relationship with other faiths a little bit, but I don't think it's affected my own faith.
Not even like you're not more religious because of the podcast?
I don't think I'm more religious because of the podcast. I think I've stayed fairly steady. Yeah, not less, not more. Just engaging with the academic portion of my belief in a different way than I have been before, with a different intensity and regularity. I don't know.
Okay. Where would you like to see our podcast by this time next year?
Doing the same thing we're doing, maybe a little bit more often for regular pay. That'd be pretty great.
Did you hear that, everyone?
Support us on Patreon.
Share this podcast with a friend.
Help us grow our audience, make us profitable, and we can produce more content.
That's how this works.
So far, it's just a part-time thing because that's all we can afford to do.
If you could share one belief or practice from another religion with your church congregation, what would it be? Or like / what would you like to see them adopt from another religion? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Here's something valuable in another religion. I'd love to see it.
Oh, so my family has historically celebrated Hanukkah, and we've even hosted it at the church building once. That's not a typical thing in the Latter-day Saint expression of faith. Mm-hmm. I think, though, if it were to be really adopted top down, where it's like really strongly encouraged, there is a way that could evolve into a less than healthy worship of the temple rather than simple worship at the temple, which is a line that you'll find people get really close to in some parts of the church.
What is it? And that's why you like Hanukkah, is because it celebrates the temple, which is big in Mormonism?
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's not just a celebration of the temple, but it's a celebration of everything that is part of having a temple. It's a celebration of religious freedom. It's a celebration of being able to express your belief publicly.
Delicious fried goods.
Yes. So much greasy food.
So much greasy
Delicious
food.
and wonderful. And it's a great time to get together. The Latter-day Saint tradition is actually really, really weak in, I would say, established feasts.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they do Christmas and Easter big like any Protestant church.
But that's family stuff.
But like a communal feast day is what you'd like to see.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
Like that.
And yeah, that's something you see in a lot of religious traditions that, a large community feast day. Large community feast day would be great.
And my last question for Preston is, what episode are you looking for, or topic are you looking forward to covering in the future?
We've got a long list of ideas and
so many.
So much content that we plan to cover in the years to come. One thing that's on my mind right now is all these weird little superstitions that have crept into popular culture.
Example?
The lucky rabbit's foot or the horseshoe, things like that. The little things that we get superstitious about, even though in this secularized world, they don't find any connection to any really specific faith tradition. It's just popular superstition.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's more complicated than don't walk under a ladder, because, people at work, they're going to drop something on you maybe. It's just not safe. Or don't open your umbrella inside because you're going to knock something over and your mom's going to beat you. It's...
Wow.
It's
like
weird
throwing salt
superstition
over your shoulder. That one makes no sense.
Right? Now you're just
wasting salt.
Getting rid of a good foodstuff and making a mess.
Okay.
Yeah. The people sitting behind you at Denny's don't like it when you throw salt over your shoulder.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll slot. I feel like we've started planning 2024. Maybe we'll slot that in for Spooktober next year.
Oh no, we got to do that for Groundhog Day.
Oh, okay.
Because that's another really weird superstition.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll slot that in, and we got LGBT plus in June. And I feel like I mentioned one more, but I can't remember what it is now. Oh, well, we'll listen to the episode back.
Yeah. All right. I've got a few questions for you.
Oh, no.
So, what are your favorite episodes so far, and why?
I feel like this is almost a cop-out, but obviously Jack Hopewell was the big one for me as a big Broadway nerd.
Sure.
So that one was really exciting. But Dr. Glenn Farron, I think we put this in the Patreon only half, but he used to be my neighbor.
Right.
So reconnecting with him, and he was Preston's professor as well. And we actually, Glenn Farron recorded live with us. So just the experience of that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Other ones that were really good. I'm going to pull up.
You're just making me look back because you're picking people that we've met.
Well,
and
I know.
I didn't.
That's is it a cop-out because we've done so few interviews? Of course, the interviews
the interviews were great. I was definitely not going to ask you who was our favorite interview, but clearly it was Jack.
No, don't tell the others. And again, I said I saw Dr. West just this week, and I was so excited to see him. So I'll try to pick other ones that are not just people. Ones that surprised me, voodoo was really interesting to learn about.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about it. I hated recording it because we had to do it 3 times, but the occult episode, same thing. I still have people that are like, ooh, this person practices the occult. I'm like, yeah, no, they don't. I promise you that they don't.
Well, and
so just having that occult knowledge of it's like being in On the Secret, where I won't say occult doesn't exist, but anyone who says something's occult does not know what they're talking about.
Almost all the time.
Almost all the time. So it's just this little okay, and to really fully understand what is and isn't occult.
Mm-hmm.
Was nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was good. Morality was a good episode.
Yeah, it was.
So I listed a lot, but I just
Sure. I didn't limit you to a number.
That's true. I did limit you because
3 is the magic number.
3 is a good number. The Trinity, the Trimertry.
Yeah. 3s are everywhere. All right. So how has your outlook on religion changed since we've started this show?
That's a really hard question to answer. Partially because you can't separate religion from people.
Right.
And people are the problem.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's anything inherently wrong with religion, but I think we do a lot of bad stuff with religion.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned earlier, it's a great tool if you're, trying to collect power and get people to believe in you. If you can say, oh, this God that you already believe in has shown that he favors me, you're going to manipulate people in a very effective way.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if it's changed. Maybe I can see more of that separation between people and religion.
Sure.
But, I'm not going to church yet.
Right.
And I've already sassed religion like 4 times in this episode. So, yeah.
Sure. So what has surprised you about a religious group or text in a positive way?
Okay. Well, let me keep sassing. I think I've said it before on air, is that I like Jesus a lot more than I did before.
It's a lot easier to like Jesus than it is his fan club.
Yeah,
sometimes.
once you can, again, like I just previously said, right? Like when you can separate the religion from the fan club and the people. So that's been interesting, is learning. I've done a lot of reading separate from what we do on the podcast on Jesus and the origins of the Christian church. So that's been interesting. What else has been really good? I'm trying to think of all these scriptures that we read.
Yeah, we're partway through our Bible study. You've read lots of scholarly texts.
Man.
And semi-scholarly texts as well.
Yeah. I feel like there's something from Reza Aslan's book, No God But God,
That was a really enjoyable book.
That was one of our Patreon book clubs that we did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would count this as in a positive way.
Okay.
It's neutral.
Sure.
But I think we even talked about it in our Islam episode, that we said Muhammad was illiterate. And in Reza Aslan's book, he says, like, no, he's not. He wasn't. He was a merchant. There was no way he was illiterate.
Right. Even though that is a very popularly told part of the Islamic history.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doubt on that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what else? The childhood gospel of Jesus is just positive in my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, those infancy gospels were something.
Infancy gospel of Thomas. Thank you. That's what I was reaching for. Yeah, that just brings my heart joy.
Sure.
Jesus killing people left, right, and center because he's a sassy 12-year-old.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
All right.
And surprising. So that answered you. What surprised you about a religious group or text in a positive way? How sassy Jesus was as a kid.
All right. So having read several scholarly books independently and in our book club, in your opinion, what value could religion add to the life of an agnostic or atheist? And the easy answer is none, but you don't get to say the easy answer.
No, I don't. So do you mean like knowing about religion or being religious?
Let's go a little bit of both.
Okay.
How about that?
I think knowing about religion is super important. Obviously.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. And I'm an atheist that's here. I think it's just like important to know why people, like, not even why people believe what they believe, but how
where those beliefs come from?
No. Okay. How what they believe affects their decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Like I just saw, and I'm tempted to do a Patreon bonus episode on it, but like France has banned an article of Muslim dress. I forget what it's called, but it's basically like a long robe for women, and they've banned it in schools. And it's like, and the whole thing was like, well, you can't proselytize at school. I'm like, someone wearing basically a muumuu is not proselytizing.
Right? Also,
Like,
if I'm going to cover my entire body and stand out as the weird one for doing that, am I convincing people that, like, does it really look like I'm going to be effectively trying to convince people that my way of life is the way that everyone must be living?
yeah.
These people are going to be picked on so much as it is.
And I'm all for secularism. Obviously, I am. But like, this just seems so ignorant that it's like beyond, like, it's intolerant. And then I saw it on Instagram, someone had commented, this is going to get really awkward around grad time, because it basically was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really important, that, again, I'm definitely all for secularism, but like, there's no reason that we need to ban hijabs or colanders or
Right.
any of that stuff. People get so scared of it. So yeah, understanding how people's beliefs affect their lifestyle and their choices, I think, is important for everyone, not just atheists and agnostics, but looking at you, Christian nationalists, need to do some more reading.
Oh, so I don't know if you even remember this. Months and months ago, somebody reached out to us.
I've been wondering why we haven't done this yet.
Months and months ago, somebody said, hey, I want to send you this book about why Christian nationalism is inevitable and good.
Yes.
And
we were going to do a book review and rip it apart.
I still haven't got the book. They reached out in, I think it was May or April, saying, hey, we want to send you this book. Give us your address. Nothing has come in the mail.
Maybe they listened to more episodes.
They probably have listened to us and realized it's not worth the cost.
Well, that wouldn't be slander, because it'd be true. Yeah. Benefits of being religious from an atheist.
Yeah. So specifically, I'm thinking is the one thing that stood out to you in our most recent book club book, Religion for Atheists.
I mean, I don't even know if it stood out from the book, but it's something that I occasionally mull upon. There's actually quite a big Protestant church just down the street from us. And actually last night they were having an event, is the community aspect.
Sure.
I absolutely see and understand the lure of that community, of any community, right? Of community. Whether that's Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever. To have a group of people that you can, like you said, they had something big happening last night. Last night was Friday night in the church parking lot. To have something to do on a Friday night, I can see, we're not parents, but I can see as a parent, like, having that as an option instead of partying for your kids. Yeah, going through stuff, have a place to go, find support. It's not free because everyone tithes, but like, resources are there. So yeah, I definitely can see the value of that. And then as someone who literally visited every church in Lisbon, architecture.
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely we've even talked about this before, of like, I love religious Christmas carols. I love the drama of it all.
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely great art. There's a lot of value there.
Yeah, well, art is often and most effectively I would say the best art is expressions of passion. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, when somebody's talking about what they believe, there's at least a little bit of passion there.
Well, I mean, if you're willing to die or kill for it, yeah, there better be.
Well, then
you can write a damn good song.
Right. And you mentioned the architecture. I think it's really interesting to see how architecture has evolved, leading through cathedrals and church buildings and all that stuff. Because everybody who believes that they should build this building for God believes that it needs to be the most beautiful thing they can produce because it's for God. So yeah, the architecture is pretty great.
That would be interesting. And I don't really know where the shift was, but now there's a fucking church that was like an old car dealership. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, you do. It's a Protestant one, but like, we've gone from, I saw
we're
the
being
most
cost effective.
I saw it when I was in Portugal. I saw the most expensive altar in the world is in Portugal. It's in Lisbon. And then you go to this fucking church. That's an old car dealership. Or strip mall churches. We have strip mall churches here. It's like, what happened?
I love the strip mall churches and the churches that are like really obviously used to be a Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And the funny thing about this car dealership is that it kind of looks like it might have been a Pizza Hut too.
Yes.
Brian, my husband and sound guy, was like, I think it used to be Pizza Hut. I was like, no, babe, it's way too big to have been a Pizza Hut, but it's got the Pizza Hut.
It does have the Pizza Hut roof. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it, right? Like, it's almost disgusting, these altars. This Church of São Roque in Lisbon, if you're ever get the chance, highly recommend it. I actually couldn't tell which altar was the most expensive one in the world because there were so many that were just pure gold.
Sure.
Maybe not pure gold, but gold leaf everywhere.
Right.
From top to bottom. And I can see how that's disgusting. There's people starving.
So the downside to gold leaf is it doesn't take a whole lot of wear to become obvious that it's not the most expensive altar in the world.
Well, you're not allowed to touch it, so.
Fair.
Anyway, I'm going to guess that there was one that was, gold from top to bottom. I was like, I bet this is it.
Yeah.
And there was a dead Jesus there, too, because Catholics are nothing if not dramatic.
True story. That's one of the things that I like best about the Protestant cross is it doesn't have a dead dude hanging from it.
Yeah. So I was just I'm going to share this story. It's adorable. I was just in Ireland with a friend and his family, and he has 2 teenage girls, and then he brought his mother-in-law and his wife. So it's 5 of them. And the oldest teen daughter kept making vlogs for her grandma. And so there was one, it was adorable. Again, this is like a 14-year-old girl. She goes, "Hey everyone, it's Maureen here." Maureen's her grandma. And she's standing outside the church and she's like, "We're in front of a cataholic church. I didn't realize they like cats so much over here." Like, that's fucking hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
I was like, this is amazing. Cataholic church.
Anyway. We might need to produce some merch.
Cataholic church merch.
Yeah, we're gonna need to jump on that one.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, I'll get on our design team and
okay.
There might be something available in our store at the time of release.
Perfect.
Maybe.
The little black cat because it's come out in October.
Perfect.
Everyone, if you want us to do this for another 3 years
or longer,
we'd love your support. So share this with a friend. Maybe not this episode. Maybe ease them in with an actual episode. Share this podcast with a friend. Follow us on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Discord. It's all your money on Patreon. So we do early release and bonus episodes is one tier, and then we do a book club for another tier. Or we have a merch shop with some great designs, including St. Bernard's milkshake and John the Baptist, the Hydra.
There's a lot of great stuff on our merch shop.
We recently released a lamb in a sheep costume. It's adorable.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us over the last 3 years, or maybe more recently, however long you've been listening to this show.
We appreciate you.
Peace be with you.
By the late Middle Ages, the Christian prophecy had fulfilled itself.